I was planning on talking about Kirk Cousins tonight. What I did not anticipate was talking about him getting benched in favor of rookie Michael Penix Jr. with 3 games left in a season in which the Atlanta Falcons are still playing not only for a playoff berth, but a division title. Wowzers. We got a lot to discuss. You're locked into the Louie T Network podcast that starts now. The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 470th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Wow. Big bombshell news dropped tonight. Kirk Cousins has been benched. If you heard Raheem Morris's press conference, kind of felt a little dicey, right? But didn't think it would come to this, though. Still thought they were going to ride it out with Kirk, right? Just figure it out. Like 3 games left. They must really like what they're seeing out of Michael Penix Jr. in practice. To make, I get it. Kirk's really hurting you. He's lost his confidence, but your season's on the line and you're turning to a rookie who doesn't have a career NFL start. That's insane. What does he have? Like maybe 10 NFL snaps and 6 or 7 of them were probably handoffs. Yikes. We'll talk more about that here in a bit, but a couple of other topics to get to first before we dive into tonight's show. So for those of you who are subscribed to MusicHead University, thank you first and foremost. But I put out my Christmas playlist on Friday, as I promised. 5 hours and 42 minutes long. Told you it was pretty long. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, check it out. I also took the liberty, because it's so long, to timestamp each song so that you can click on it and it'll take you straight to where that song begins. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, please go ahead and do so. Me and my wife finished Cross. Big shout out to everybody that recommended Cross to me and my wife. Incredible watch. Enjoyed it start to finish. A lot of times with my wife and myself, we'll watch a show, and first of all, my wife is the queen of not finishing shit. So we'll start a show, it'll be great, and unless she like is absolutely madly in love with the show, we just won't. Like, we haven't finished Penguin yet. I've been dying to finish Penguin, but we won't finish Penguin until April, messing around with her. And so she's really got to love a show for her to be like, hey, let's finish this, or hey, let's watch this again, and then watch it again and watch it again. I knew she was hooked on Cross when the first night we turned it on. She wanted to binge the entire thing. And I was like, no, we got to go to bed. It's 4:00 in the morning. We got to go to bed. Right. It was excellent. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I loved the finish to it. And I think the biggest question that I have now is, where do we go from here? Like, I had asked my wife, what do you think is season 2 going to be about? And she's like, I don't know. We assume that someone would have been, that was attached to the serial killer or a fanboy would have been left for them to maybe have to pursue, or there could have been a loose end that wasn't tied up. But pretty much everything was tied up. I think there could be one or two things that could rear its ugly head in season 2, if there's a season 2. I'm assuming there's gonna be a season 2. But I thought about, why not go to like a scandal type of format where each episode is an individual episode on its own. Now, you may have components from previous episodes that may interject themselves into future episodes, but you can watch each episode individually on its own, and it not have to be tied into the episode that you just watched. Now, there may be some backstory or some storylines going on within the episode that if you didn't watch previous episodes, you may not be, up to speed on, but that could be another way that they decide to go about it. Like when Scandal was at its best, I felt like she was putting out fires every week, different ones. That was her job. And so there were, storylines working in the background that you had to watch episode 2 of season 1 to understand in episode 8 of season 1. But you could watch episode 2 of season 1 and not need episode 1. You could watch episode 4 and not need 1, 2, or 3 because it was in its own entity. Maybe they go that route. We'll see. But it was a great show. I would recommend it to anybody that likes suspenseful thriller type shows. It was great. So, with that said, Michael Vick, the newest head coach of Norfolk State University, NSU Spartans. Behold the green and gold. Stand up. Y'all are in the building. I was talking to my wife. She is a graduate of Norfolk State University. And we were talking about it yesterday when the news first broke that he was in talks with Norfolk State. And, Sac State jumped in the mix, was like, hey, we got a bunch of NIL money. We about to jump up to the FBS level. We got new facilities. We got all this stuff. We want you to be the face of our program. And Vic was like, yeah, that shit sounds really good, man. And honestly, I think that got leaked out, and he used Sac State to push Norfolk State to get the job done. Like, what are y'all waiting on? And I remember hearing about Norfolk State's interest in Vic and Vic's interest in them. And I'm like, this is a perfect marriage. What are we waiting on? Why hasn't this already happened? I don't know why Norfolk State was dragging their feet. But once Sac State got involved, that sped up the process exponentially. And I'm so glad that he's staying home. And if nothing else, that's going to bring a level of excitement to a program that had been fledgling here for the last 20 years, it felt like. And it's going to have the city lit. It's going to have the city lit. I've heard more people talk about going to the Norfolk State games coming up here next fall than I've heard them talk about going to a Norfolk State game in the last 20 years. So, getting a guy of his caliber is going to get some of that homegrown talent that always leaves. Some of those guys will stay. You'll get some good players to come because they want to play for Michael Vick. It's similar to like the Deion Sanders effect. It's not quite on that level. He does not have coaching experience. Prime had coaching experience before he got to the collegiate level, but I don't think that's going to stop Michael Vick from being able to recruit, put together a great staff. He's already talked about wanting to do that, putting together a staff that has experience that's going to allow him to kind of get his feet wet while, learning on the job, so to speak. I can't wait to see what this all looks like. I'm so excited about Mike Vick coaching in our backyard. Like I still can't I can't wrap my brain around that. That's so dope, man. When it first came up, I was like, this can't be real. This is exactly what the city needs. And battle of the bands and the the Labor Day Classic, all of the things that have meaning in the 757, but have really taken a back seat here of late. Like, unless you are an alum and it's, something that you do all the time, it wasn't a big deal. All those things are going to be a big deal again. All those things are going to be a big deal. Should be a lot of fun. Should be a lot of fun, man. I can't wait to see what this looks like. I'm excited. Anyway, I digress. So tonight we're going to talk about, I was going to talk about the youngins at the quarterback position, and, start the show off there, and then go to Slate Skatin. This whole Kirk Cousins getting benched thing has thrown a monkey wrench in everything. Now, what I could do is save that for the end of the show. That's probably what I should do. Save the Kirk Cousins discussion for the end of the show, and just keep everything else the way that it was going to be. That way, because it kind of, plays into what I was going to do anyway, which was talk about the young fellas. So let's do that. Let's talk about the youngins, shall we? Yeah, I think we shall. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So, everything was all good just a couple weeks ago. We were talking about how a little benching ain't never hurt nobody, right? A little break ain't never hurt nobody, right? Will Levis was playing better in Tennessee. Bryce Young was playing better in Carolina. Anthony Richardson was playing better in Indianapolis. And Bo Nix was playing well. And Jaden Daniels was continuing to play well. And, you've seen all these young quarterbacks really starting to thrive, right? Drake May's playing well in New England. And you're like, man, this ain't half bad, right? Fast forward 2 weeks. And man, what a difference 2 weeks makes. Shit ain't the same as it was 2 weeks ago. So let's start with last year's draft class, 2023 draft class of quarterbacks. CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, and company. We'll start there, and then we'll work our way to the new guys, the new kids on the block. And we'll do that here in a second. But let's talk about Bryce Young. So Bryce Young, still think he's playing well, and I love the fact that, because remember, we weren't sure, and I actually brought this up, maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago. I think I brought it up last week because we weren't sure at the time. But I said, I wonder what Carolina's going to do. I wonder what they're going to do. Like, if they're in a position, like, it's easy to say what you aren't going to do when you're not in a position to draft a quarterback, right? It's easy for Carolina to come out this week and, reports are surfacing that, oh, they're not going to draft a quarterback. They're more interested in a corner or an edge rusher or something like that. They're not interested in a quarterback. They're going to roll with Bryce Young. That sounds good when you're sitting at like the 6th pick or wherever the Carolina Panthers are sitting right now. And I don't know where they're sitting. They're not in the top 2, which to me, if you're looking for a quarterback, you need to be in the top 2 picks in this upcoming draft. The rest of those guys are all a crapshoot. And not to say that you're guaranteed anything with Shador or Cam Ward, but those are going to be the 2 guys that give you the best shot to be successful. So they're not in a position to get either one of them right now. So with that said, it's easy for them to go, yeah, we're going to stick with Bryce. But I think they have every reason to stick with Bryce right now. Now, I will say that Sunday's game against Dallas wasn't his best effort. And at times he looked overmatched in the game. And it was a far cry from the Bryce we had seen the two, maybe even three previous weeks going back to the game against the Kansas City Chiefs, where he played really well, took him down the field on a game tying drive, 2-point conversion, all of that good stuff. And, Mahomes did what he did at the end and they still lost. You follow that up with the Eagles game and you're like, hey, wait a minute. Hey, then you follow that up with the Tampa game, excuse me, and then the Philly game. And you're like, hey, wait a minute. What are we doing here? What's going on? He kind of came back crashing down to earth in this game against Dallas. 19 of 28, not bad. 219 yards, not bad. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, bad. And the interceptions didn't look good. I think he fumbled 2 in this game. Yeah, he fumbled twice, lost both of them. And that was one of the things that really concerned me in this game was like these weren't jarring hits, I think he might have smaller hands, so his grip on the football, because he's not a big guy. We all know that. And people always get, a little funny and nervous when you start talking about another grown man's hands. But this is why, pause, because it matters. And as it gets colder outside later in the year, the grip becomes a little less, tight in certain instances. And if you already don't have, big enough hands to really command the football like you would like to, it's going to get even harder to, stop that ball from coming out when contact is made. And it just felt like he was fumbling way too easily in that game against Dallas. So he accounted for 4 turnovers in that game, 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions. It was a tough outing for Bryce Young coming off of the 3-game stretch he had where there was infinite belief in what he could potentially be. I don't think that has changed. I still think he's playing the best football of his career. This stretch that we're watching right now currently is the best stretch of football we've seen in Bryce Young's young NFL career. And you want to continue to see that trajectory. But this was a step back for him in week number 15 versus the Dallas Cowboys. Going on to CJ Stroud, they won the game, but I still think CJ Stroud has not been right since Nico Collins got hurt the first time around, right? I say the first time around like Nico's been hurt 3 times this year. When Nico Collins went down with the hamstring, that was the last time the Texans as an offense were whole this season. They had Nico, they had Tank, and they had Stephon Diggs, and Joe Mixon was running the football. You had Dalton Schultz. They were loaded early in the season, and CJ was going off. And then Nico gets injured with the hammy, and he really ain't been right since. Because before Nico came back, Stephon was gone. And so they haven't been whole offensively, but he didn't have all of that stuff to work with last year, and he was doing just fine. It just feels like he's struggling a little bit. And he was good enough for them to win in this game, but this was more about their defense and less about their offense. CJ Stroud, 18 of 26 for 131 yards. Now, he did have 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, but that's nothing right there. We call that those passenger stats. You're along for the ride when that's what you out delivering, right? You ain't delivering the goods, that's for sure. Now, again, the key was he didn't turn it over. He did have a fumble. So he did technically turn it over once. But he didn't throw any interceptions. But this is who he's been this season a lot of times, is this right here. And that's not what we are accustomed to seeing from CJ Stroud. The Texans have not been scoring a bunch of points. They haven't looked sharp. Nobody is afraid of the Texans in the AFC right now. You look at the Texans and you go, hey, if we're a team in the AFC, we want them in the first round. I heard Chargers fans sizing up the Texans like, hey, we'd love to take a shot at them in the playoffs. This is a Chargers team that can't score against anybody, yet they're sizing up the Texans. That's the state of the Houston Texans right now. It reminds me of Brady's last year in the NFL, 2022 season, when everyone was like, yo, I want to play the Bucs in the first round of the playoffs. Let me get at that 5th seed. Let me get at that thing, because I know I'm going to beat them. Every team that year wanted the Bucs. Dallas drew the long straw, got them and smoked them as the 5th seed. This feels like what the Texans appear to be heading into the postseason. They've already won their division. They've clinched the AFC South. What a surprise. Go figure, right? Everybody saw that coming. But they haven't been super impressive in doing so. Even this win, 20-12 over the Dolphins, this had little to do with the offense and everything to do with the Texans defense holding down the Dolphins offense and winning them this game. They picked off Tua 3 times in the game, also forced Tua to fumble and recovered that. And so that was the name of the game, is they were able to create turnovers and win the game defensively. It had nothing to do with the Texans offense. And it's felt like this for almost 2 months now, where the Texans offense has been a non-participant most weeks. Jared Goff had a 5-interception game in which the Texans led 23-7 at half, and they lost the game and didn't score a single point in the second half, and lost the game 26-23. This offense has been anemic, and CJ Stroud is a part of that. He's a part of that. There was this ground swelling for offensive coordinator came from the Shanahan tree. What is his name? I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. The Texans offensive coordinator. But he's cooled off considerably. He's cooled off considerably. So Caleb is not Caleb. CJ Stroud is, I will admit, he's struggling a little bit. He's struggling a little bit. But Slowick, thank you. Bobby Slowick. Thank you, Miss P. He's cooled off. CJ's cooled off. Remember, there was this it was a foregone conclusion that Bobby Slowick got the extension last year. They gave him more money because they didn't want him to leave. They wanted him to continue to grow with CJ at least for one more year. But the prevailing thought was after this year, Bobby was out. He was going to end up getting a head coaching job. I don't think Bobby's going anywhere. Doesn't feel like it right now. And again, Bobby could go out, smash an interview, and end up a head coach. I didn't expect Brian Callahan to end up a head coach last coaching cycle. But apparently he went in there, he wowed the Titans, and he got himself a job. Maybe Bobby Slowick could do the same thing. He went through the interview process last year, so he knows what to expect a little bit more. So this time around than the last, and maybe he goes in, wows somebody, and comes out a head coach. But it doesn't feel like it right now. And he hasn't been super impressive. This offense hasn't been super impressive, and CJ Stroud hasn't been super impressive this year. So take it for what it's worth. Will Levis has officially been benched, and it's tough for the Titans because you're not currently in a position where you could draft one of the top 2 quarterbacks. But when you play Jacksonville one more time, it's hard for me to envision Jacksonville sweeping you. But it could happen. Will Levis was awful in the game on Sunday. He was awful. And so much so that they went to Mason Rudolph and he came in and played well and gave him a shot. Gave him a shot in the arm, gave him a lift. Will Levis, 8 of 12, 89 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a fumble loss. He unraveled in this game. And I was watching this game. Don't judge me, okay? The pickings were slim on Sunday in the 1:00 hour. All the good games were coming on at 4. So I remember looking over to my wife and saying, "This is some bullshit that they got me picking through." Right? Because I told y'all what my setup is. On one TV, I got the Commanders game by itself, and then on the other TV, I got a split screen with 4 games on. If you got YouTube TV, which you got to, if you got the little package, it allows you to watch what is called multi-view. And so I usually try to find the 4 best games outside of the Commanders game that I want to watch. And I was trying to find the perfect foursome. And I'm seeing games like Jacksonville and the Jets. I'm like, ugh. And then I'm seeing, the Ravens and the Giants. Oh my God. And then I saw the Titans and the Bears. I was like, I don't want that shit either. But it beats the alternative. Either you watching the Jags and the Jets or the Ravens and the Giants. I'm like, okay, give me Bengals, Titans. Jesus. Right? And I'm watching the game, and you should have seen Brian Callahan's face. He looked like he wanted to chop Will Levis's body up into little pieces, put them, and spread them out throughout the entire state of Tennessee. Like, it was crazy. Wowzers. He was bad. And I think this might be it for Will Levis. He was just starting to get to a point where people were trying to convince themselves we might be able to do this again next year, get him some more talent, and we might have to saddle up for one more year, Will Levis. They can't do another year. Brian Callahan can't do another year, Will Levis. He's not going to. They're going to have to do something in the offseason, whether that's a veteran like Sam Darnold, but he can't, he won't. He's not going to. So, again, this is the beauty of Sam Darnold doing what he's doing right now is his market is going to be red hot because not everybody's getting a quarterback in the draft. Not everybody's getting a quarterback in the draft. And Tennessee seems to be one of those locales where if you're looking for a career revival, you can go there and maybe get it done. Now, they don't have Derrick Henry like they once did, but maybe Sam Darnold's second act in Minnesota might give him a Baker Mayfield-like revival in Tennessee. Who knows? Or somewhere like it. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, Will Levis is cooked. He's done. He won't start in Tennessee again. So now we go to Anthony Richardson. And, boy, I really don't know what to make of this dude. Like, I've been talking to Colts fans, and I've been trying to convince myself that it's gonna get better, but it's not. This is who he is. You can't fix inaccuracy. You can't. You can't fix it. He will make the most incredible throw you've ever seen, and then he'll miss the most routine throw you've ever seen. And he'll do that in the span of 3 plays. And you go, wait, what? Huh? You just did that. Now you can't even do that? How is that possible? Anthony Richardson in the game on Sunday versus Denver that they lost. And I'm not even going to blame him for this loss because JT Money, their veteran workhorse, all-world back, breaks off a touchdown run and does that stupid shit that I always talk about that I can't stand players doing. He let the ball go before he got in the end zone. At that time, they were up 13-7 in the game, and it would have made it 20-7. They probably would have won that game, is my guess. But instead, he fumbled, and they didn't score another point the rest of the game, and they lost the game 31-13. So, yeah. Hey, how about that? Anyway, Anthony Richardson, 17 of 38. How many times are we going to do this shit, y'all? How many times are we going to do this? At this point, I want to know, has there ever been an Anthony Richardson game in his career? And I'll even allow those first 5 or 6 games that he played in his rookie season when he wowed Colts fans and had them believing that they had them a superstar at the quarterback position. I want to know, is there a game in his NFL career where he's thrown the football 25 times or more and had a completion percentage over 60? Because these completion percentages are wild. Like, I make fun of guys when they don't make it to 50. He's not even making it to 50. Okay. I make fun of guys when they complete 54% of their passes, 57, 52. He's in the 40s every week. Routinely in the 40s. Some weeks in the 30s. You cannot live in the NFL world going 17 for 38. That is ridiculous. 17 to 38 for 172 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. What's his stat line? And as much as people try to make him out to be this dynamic runner, he's really not a dynamic runner. So it doesn't offset the fact that he sucks as a passer. It is amazing watching this dude struggle because he's so talented. But you could see it when he was at Florida. Oy vey. I'll just say this. I don't think the Colts general manager, Chris Ballard, is going to make it out of this one alive. He waited like 7-8 years to finally draft a first-round quarterback because he inherited Andrew Luck, and he knew that if I draft, I remember him famously saying, the minute I draft a first-round quarterback, the sooner I get fired. So he refused to draft a first-round quarterback. Instead, he went out and he signed Phillip Rivers. He traded for Carson Wentz. He signed Matt Ryan. He did everything he could to avoid drafting a first-round quarterback. And then he was about to get fired, and then he drafted a first-round quarterback. And now this kid looks like he's going to be fresh ass. And if he doesn't work out, heads are going to roll. And I feel so bad for Shane Steichen because he's a damn good coach. He just needs a quarterback. This man almost went to the playoffs with Gardner Minshew last year. You ain't going to tell me shit about Shane Steichen. That man can dial up some offense. So it ain't a Shane Steichen problem. But damn it if Anthony Richardson ain't the answer. He is the problem. It's a damn shame. So most of those 2023 quarterbacks are on the struggle bus right now, including CJ Stroud, who isn't playing really well. But at least his team's winning. But that's more of a team thing than it is a CJ Stroud thing. It's just a better collection of talent around CJ Stroud than the rest of these quarterbacks have at their disposal. But you go to 2024 and Caleb Williams, my goodness. Caleb Williams is struggling. So he was on Monday Night Football yesterday, and it did not go well. 18 to 31, 191 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. So that's good for him. He did lose a fumble, though, and that continues to be an issue with him also. He was only sacked twice, but he was hit only 3 times in the game. Thought he was hit more than that. But I was listening to Dan Orlovsky talk about the rookie quarterbacks this year. And he was talking about Caleb in particular. And he said, of all of the young quarterbacks, Caleb Williams is the only one that didn't get better as the season progressed. And I thought about it. And I was like, is that really true? And then I thought about it. And then I thought about it some more. And I was like, yeah, he's right. You think about Caleb Williams and you think about the other quarterbacks. Bo Nix has gotten significantly better as the season has progressed. Jaden Daniels, he was as steady as any of the quarterbacks, right? Started out really good, played really well, had a little bit of a, period there where he dealt with injury, didn't play his best football, but he never fell off the map. And now he's playing well again. Another 80% completion percentage game for Jaden Daniels on Sunday versus the New Orleans Saints. Drake May has gotten better and better and better as the weeks progress. He continues to show Patriots fans, hey, you got yourself one. Now y'all gonna have to go get me some shit. It ain't nowhere near enough talent out here for me to throw the football to and get the ball to, but I can play. Like, we've seen that. And then there's Caleb Williams. And no one has more talent around him. Now, he's got a dysfunctional situation, and that doesn't help. And you want to destroy a quarterback quick? The fastest way is to have an organizational structure that is a mess. And that's what the Bears have right now. I mean, he's had 3 different play callers this year, if I'm not mistaken. He's had 3 different play callers. And none of them seem to work. I've contended that the biggest issue with Caleb Williams is he holds on to the ball too long. Like, he's not, like, just be decisive in whatever it is you're going to do. I'll give you an example. He is indecisive in everything that he does. So I'm watching the Thanksgiving game, and he's running towards the sidelines, and he doesn't know if he wants to slide, if he wants to get out of bounds. Does he want to sprint out of bounds? Does he want to, like, let up by the sidelines, try to draw a penalty? I don't really know what the hell he was thinking. But he kind of casually jogs towards the sideline, doesn't, use the sense of urgency of a guy that doesn't want any contact. And he gets hit in his legs. And it's a clean hit, but you could tell that hit affected him the rest of the game. And it's like, You didn't need to take that hit, bro. You could have run out of bounds. But he didn't. He just was kind of like moseying over towards the sideline, but I'm kind of non-committal, as if I might try to hit him with a Mahomes and fake like I'm running out of bounds and run down the sidelines or some bullshit. And he paid for it unnecessarily because he was indecisive. He he holds on to the ball, trying to make, and remember, the knock on him is, can he work from within the structure of an offense consistently? That was the knock. That was really the question, not necessarily a knock, as much as a question. Could he work within the confines and structure of an offense consistently, on time, on schedule? Not try to take a 6-yard gain and make it a 46-yard gain. Just take the 6-yard gain. Could he do that consistently? Right now, the answer is no. Right now, the answer is no. He's holding on to the ball too long. He's missing opportunities to get the ball to his playmakers and allow them to make the plays. He is taking sacks. He's taking unnecessary hits. And you know what? To a lesser degree, he's a little dramatic. He gets hit. He's slow getting up. He looks like, I remember saying this early in the season. I want to say when they were on a Sunday night game against the Texans. This had to be like week 4 or something like that. And I remember telling y'all, he looked like the weight of the world was on his shoulders, right? He looked like they had threatened him and said, if you don't play well and the Bears win tonight, we're going to execute your entire family. And you're like, bro, it's a football game. Look, you want to play well, but you don't have to look like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. He looked like, if this doesn't go well, I cease to exist. And every possession, he looks like he's about to vomit if things don't go well on the sidelines. He looks like he's sick to his stomach. And I'm like, bro, we're halfway through the second quarter. Like, relax. And maybe he puts a lot of pressure on himself. Maybe external factors affect him, things that people say. I don't know. But I can tell you that he hasn't handled a lot of things well this year. At least body language wise. I can't say that he's not saying all the right things, doing all the right things in the team facility and things of that nature. But they haven't done him any favors in Chicago with how they've handled him. And he hasn't done himself any favors with the way he's handled things in terms of body language and, adjusting to the NFL game, the speed of it, the responsibility that you have as a quarterback. He's done a much better job of not turning it over, because that was a problem early in the season where he was turning the ball over. He's taking better care of the ball now. He's taking much better care of the football. But he hasn't grown as a passer. And that is a little alarming. But you know what? At the same time, I can say that due to his circumstances, I'm willing to cut him a break. It's hard to grow and evolve and continue to develop on a linear trajectory upwards when there's all this dysfunction, permeating around you. But he has the most talent of any of the young quarterbacks, and he's done less with more, and that's not good. It's not good. You get to Jaden Daniels, he just continues to thrive. What more can I say? What more can I say? He just continues to thrive. Another 80% completion percentage performance. his fourth such of his young NFL career. Um, Easily could have thrown for well over 300 yards and boatload of touchdowns had he been able to connect with Terry McLaurin down the field on a couple of missed opportunities. But um, he's led the Commanders to a 9-5 start in his rookie season. They maybe are 1 or 2 wins away from clinching a playoff berth. And he set a boatload of records. Every week it's something new. And right now, I think he's tied for the most wins, or has a chance. I think he's tied for the most wins by a rookie quarterback in Commanders franchise history in their first season, obviously. I know a lot of people think, well, Robert Griffin III, he didn't start all of the wins. He didn't start against Cleveland in 2012, right? He didn't start every single game that they won. So I think he's tied with Robert Griffin and some other quarterback with 9. And he's got a chance to set the franchise record if he can get to 10. So he's been phenomenal. He joined a very elite group of quarterbacks to throw for over 3,000 yards and rush for over 650. That group, that small list, consists of Cam Newton, Robert Griffin III, and Kyler Murray. Now, Jaden Daniels adds his name to that very short list. So he's been phenomenal, flat out. And he's going to be the offensive rookie of the year. There's been like this background noise for Brock Bowers, who's having a tremendous season, but he's no quarterback. You know how that go. Then there's Drake May. And Drake May, in his game against Arizona, I actually thought he played well. He started out the game, 7 of 7, I believe. 19 of 23 for 202 yards, a touchdown, 1 interception. He ran the ball 4 times for 14 yards and also scored a touchdown on the ground in their 30-17 loss at Arizona. Drake May play well. Again, I continue to walk away from his games this season going, you can win with that. You can win with that performance. You put a better squad around him, he will make plays. Look, the one thing I worry about with Drake May right now is if you put him in a late game situation and you say, hey, go win me a ball game, he hasn't shown me he can do that yet. Normally, that ends in disaster, right? Normally, that ends in a Drake May fumble, a Drake May interception every single time. I think he's been in those situations 3 times, and he's turned it over in all 3 situations. Now, I've also seen him in a gotta have it situation, but to tie, go down and tie the game up. I've also seen him do that against Tennessee. But then in that same, in the same breath, they get to overtime and he throws a pick. And the only reason they were trailing in the game is because he had the ball with a chance to put the game away and he fumbled, which allowed Tennessee to tie the game up or take the lead rather. That was a tie ball game. He had a chance to give them the lead and he fumbled. Tennessee took the lead and then he had to go and retie the game up. But then when they got the ball in overtime with a chance to win, he threw a pick. So every time he's been put in that situation this year, he's either fumbled or threw an interception. But remove him from that, space. Remove him from that type of situation, and you isolate just how he's played in, the game, whether they've been up or down. He's been pretty damn solid. I've been impressed. He continues to show that, hey, the Patriots may have themselves one. And then there's Bo Nix. So let's talk about Bo real quick. Didn't think it was a great game for Bo. And that's an understatement. He threw 3 interceptions. Of course, it wasn't a great game, but he also threw 3 touchdown passes, right? I mean, if you're going to throw 3 interceptions, you better cancel them out with 3 touchdown passes. And he did that. 20 of 33, 130 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So obviously, not the yards you're looking for, not the interceptions you're looking for, but he did throw 3 touchdown passes. He added in 8 carries for 23 yards, and he made enough plays for them to win the game. This was more about Denver's defense and what the Colts didn't do than it was what Bo Nix did do. Um, he just continues to be steady for the most part. Again, this looked more like early season Bo Nix, the one that was turning it over and not putting his team in the best positions. This looks a lot less like the Bo Nix that had ascended all the way to making the Rookie of the Year conversation an intriguing one that he was gaining ground constantly in. This looked like the Bo Nix that wasn't even in that conversation and discussion earlier in the season. So doesn't matter. They still won the game 31-13, but he wasn't as effective as he had been. He wasn't efficient at all in this game, and he wasn't as effective as he had been, but they still got it done. So we'll talk about Michael Penix Jr., who will be the 5th of the 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first round to start in the 2024 regular season. We've also seen Spencer Rattler start. Didn't go well, but he played on Sunday versus the Commanders. And look, it wasn't, I won't lie to you, statistically, these numbers won't blow you away. When I looked at his numbers, I was like, didn't feel like it watching it. But boy, did he come in and give them a spark on Sunday against the Commanders. Rattler went 10 of 21 for 135 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. He came in and he gave him a spark, despite throwing for less than 50% completion percentage. One of those was a spike at the end to give them a shot to throw the ball into the end zone to tie the game up or to score a touchdown and give them a chance to either go for the tie or 2 in the win. So he was really right around 50% on the day. Not great, but he made plays and he gave them a shot. When he entered the game, it was 17-0, and it ended up 20-19. So take it for what it's worth. I don't know if the Saints look at him as a part of their future, but I can tell you who's not. Jake Haener. I can tell you who's not. Jake mother effing Haener. So with that said, let's go ahead and transition to Slate Skate. Go ahead, put your skates on. We'll run through these games real quick. I won't talk your head off about them. We'll go through, we'll knock them out one by one, and we'll get out of here. So let's go Slate Skating, everybody. Week 15 in the National Football League. So we'll start with the Commanders and the Saints. Commanders survived 20-19 over the Saints. Long story short, this game was way too close for comfort. Jaden Daniels, 25 of 31, 226, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked 8 times in this game. Now, if you watch this game, you understand that those weren't 8 legitimate sacks. 3 of them were Jaden Daniels running out of bounds at or behind the line of scrimmage. He ran into 2 sacks, and 1 he dropped back too far. So I'm not here to tell you the offensive line was great because it wasn't, but Daniels could have alleviated some of those sacks. But the counter argument to that is, well, what about the sacks that he prevented them from having on their ledger because of him being Jaden Daniels? Touche. That exists as well. But he could have taken some of these sacks off of the stat sheet. But that said, he also ran 11 times for 66 yards And this game was 17-0, 14-0 at half, 17-0, a third of a way through the third quarter, and somehow this thing managed to get to 20-19. One of the most egregious things that occurred in this game, the officials, with 9 seconds to go, so to set the scene quickly, the Saints moved it down the field with 1 timeout remaining after the Commanders had a chance at a 54-yard field goal that would have given them a 10-point lead. They missed the field goal, which set the Saints up with great field position, 1 timeout, and about a minute and 30 seconds left, we'll call it. And they moved it all the way down to the Commanders' about 12-yard line. And it was a 4th and 3. And this was with 17 seconds to go. Spencer Rattler completes a 4-yard pass to tight end. Let me get his name real quick. To the tight end, Foster Moreau. Moreau then drags a couple of defenders down to the 1-yard line where he is gang tackled by the Commanders. And the referee on the side comes in waving his arms as if to say, stop the clock. Like the Saints have a timeout or something like that, which they didn't. So the clock stops at 9 seconds. For 4.5 seconds. Meanwhile, the Saints are scrambling feverishly to get to the line of scrimmage, get lined up so they can spike the ball and give themselves one final chance at the end zone with 3 seconds left. So they spike it with 3 seconds to go. Well, the clock was stopped for over 3 seconds. So you do the math. Ultimately, they throw a touchdown pass, on the final play of regulation to Spencer Rattler. They immediately signal they're going for 2 and the win. And at 5-8, I don't blame them. I mean, I would have done that if I was 8-5. But at 5-8, what do you have to lose? They went for 2. They didn't get it, and the Commanders hold on 20-19. It was nerve-wracking to say the least, but Commanders win the game, improve to 9-5, continue to be one of the 7 teams in the NFC's playoff picture. Meanwhile, the Saints dropped to 5-9. Jake Haener is awful. He was awful. He went 4 of 10 for 49 yards and an interception, and he was sacked 3 times. And if you see these 3 sacks, you're like, bro, what the hell are you doing? Will somebody get this man off the field? What is he even doing on your roster? Like, Jake Haener played scared. He's ass. But Rattler came in and gave him a spark and almost led him to a come-from-behind victory. Ravens, Giants, one of the biggest spreads I had ever seen in a game going in. The number was wild. At one point, I had seen a spread at 17 points. This game was craziness. Well, the Giants or the Ravens covered, so it doesn't matter. 35-14 is your final score in this game. Lamar Jackson, 5 touchdown passes. I've said this on this podcast, and after a couple of these primetime games that the Ravens have been on, I've said this multiple times. This is the best season Lamar Jackson has ever had. And when I said it, people are like, whatever, dude. And I'm like, I'm just telling you, don't kill the messenger, but this is the best season Lamar Jackson's ever had. And he's not going to win the MVP this year. And this is better than any of the other 2 MVP seasons that he's had. The only difference this year is that the record isn't what it was in those 2 years. Those 2 years when he won MVP, which was 2019 and last year, the Ravens were the number 1 seed in the AFC. They were the best team in their conference and one of the best teams in football. His team is not this year. I still think they're going to win their division, by the way. They're going to beat the Steelers on Saturday this weekend. And They're going to be tied at 10-5 for the division lead, and I believe they're going to win the division. Lamar went 21 of 25 for 290, 5 touchdown passes, no interceptions. He did lose a fumble, but on a day where he was damn near flawless, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Also had 6 carries for 65 yards, in case you were wondering. He does it all. The Giants, on the other hand, started Tommy DeVito. He ended up with a concussion. In comes Tim Boyle. Yikes. They stink. So the Giants are 2-12, and they currently hold the number 2 overall pick in the 2025 draft. As long as they don't win a game down the stretch, they'll end up getting one of the top 2, quarterbacks. I will say they are playing the Atlanta Falcons this week. They're starting a rookie quarterback. All bets are off. I expect the Falcons to beat them, though, because the Giants can't stop the run. They stopped it against the Ravens a little bit, but they can't stop the run. And the Falcons, if nothing else, can run the football. So I surmise that the Giants will continue to run the play and max their season out at 2 wins. But we'll see. Ravens improved to 9-5, and more importantly, with the Steelers' loss, climb within a game of first place, and they play them this Saturday night. So should be good. Jets, Jags. This was actually a fun game to watch. I talked shit about not wanting this to be on my television, but it was better than the Titans and the Bengals. I'll tell you that much. I couldn't have known. Having, witnessed Jacksonville 3 out of the last 4 weeks fail to score more than 10 points, there was no way I could have known that this would end up being 32-25, and this thing was 25-25, with 2 minutes to go in the game. I couldn't have known that it was going to be a great game, but it was. Aaron Rodgers. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. 16-30, 289, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. The real thing here is Rodgers had 6 carries for 45 yards. He was running, y'all. Rodgers was scrambling. He showed mobility that we haven't seen from Aaron Rodgers in like 2 years. Now, it was old and slow as hell, but it was like he refused to run at, certain points of the season. He refused to run. And in this game, he was running his ass off. And he was hyped, and the team got hyped. And you could tell it motivated them, the fact that he was willing to use his wheels. They don't work the way that they used to, but they still work. But you question if they still worked at times with Rodgers. And that's why I said, with him and Kirk in particular, these older quarterbacks that are coming off of major surgery, you have to be patient with them to give them the amount of time that they need to have the confidence in their knee, or in I think Kirk's case, the Achilles, so that they can do the things that they used to be able to do. And it takes a little bit longer for you to recover as you get older. And it was good to see Rodgers moving around. He made some throws. Devontae Adams had a big game. He had no catches in the first half of this game. He ended up with 9 catches for 198 yards and 2 touchdowns, including the game winner. So he got hot late. Garrett Wilson had a touchdown in the first half. Aaron Rodgers was the Jets' leading rusher in this game. That's all you need to know. Mac Jones, the miggity Mac, the miggity Mac. 31 of 46, 294, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. His second interception was a backbreaker. It's a backbreaker. You want me to tell you who's nice, though? Brian Thomas Jr., that rookie out of LSU. He's a beast. Man, is he good. 10 catches, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, he's the real deal. Um, I'm gonna say something controversial. Maybe it's not controversial if you've been watching. Maybe you don't agree. Maybe you do. He's better than Marvin Harrison Jr. He's the second best rookie wide receiver. Is Brian Thomas Jr. Only behind Malik Neighbors, his teammate. He's better than Marvin Harrison Jr. He's better than Rome Odunze. There, I said it. Jacksonville stinks, though. And I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is the answer or not. And I feel like change is coming in the offseason. And I wonder what Jacksonville is going to look like next year. But yeah, I digress. Jets get a win. They're fourth of the season. They're not dead yet. This version of the Jets that I saw on Sunday versus the Jags, they can beat the Rams. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I wouldn't hold my breath, though. Panthers, Cowboys. Cowboys dominate the Panthers 30-14. A lot of conversation surrounding Micah Parsons. There was an interview with Stephen Jones that was circulating with him talking about, the cost of doing business when you've got so many elite players that you have to pay, and, the prospects of them getting a deal done with Micah Parsons. And the answer was sort of non-committal to the point where people started to draw inferences like maybe Dallas is going to explore trade offers for Micah Parsons, which Stephen Jones did not refute when he was asked, about potentially trading Micah Parsons. He said, we will explore all options in the offseason. But then he closed the conversation by saying, a guy the caliber of a Micah Parsons, you don't let leave your organization. So I think we all understand Micah Parsons isn't going anywhere, but it did start a little bit of conversation that Parsons had to then extinguish on his podcast. But he played really well in this game. He had 2 sacks, a forced fumble. Cooper Rush, talking about playing well, played well in this game. 18 of 29, 214, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I think the real question now is about Rico Dowdle. Like, I think we had all assumed that the Cowboys were going to need a running back. And we were talking about drafting Ashton Genty and all of this shit. Do you need to do that? Like, if you're Dallas, you really don't have the luxury of doing that. Not when you got Rico Dowdle going 25 carries, 149 yards in this game. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I heard that over the last 3 weeks, he leads the NFL in rushing. I could be wrong about that, but I think that is actual factuals. He looks good, man. They gave him an opportunity, and he's playing well. Now, I'm not telling you that he's playing against the best rush defenses and this, that, and the third, but I'm not saying, I'm just saying. CeeDee Lamb continues to eat no matter who the quarterback is. 9 catches, 116 yards, and a score. They actually did something in this game that I don't know what took them so long to do. They gave Kavontae Turpin 2 carries. What are you doing? Why is this not a normal thing every week? Doesn't matter. Cooper Rush did fumble twice in this game, lost one of them, but ultimately the Cowboys just were too good defensively in this game for Carolina. I talked about Bryce Young, picked him off twice, forced him to fumble twice, and the Cowboys prevailed 30-14. Imagine if they didn't lose to Cincinnati, how crazy Cowboys fans would be right now sitting at 7-7. They'd be right back in the playoff conversation if that didn't take place last week. Now, this is a big game coming up. If they were in that position, they would be playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this coming week. And that would be interesting. But at 6-8, they're pretty much cooked and out of the playoff chase. But so much for them unraveling the way that we thought they were, right? They could finish this season up at 9-8 or 8-9. They'll be one of the two, I think. So, I mean, they could end up 7-10, losing to the Bucks and say the Commanders at the end of the season, but they could easily end up 9-8. Winning all three of their remaining games, or winning 2 out of 3 of them and getting to 8-9. Which I told you before the season started, I could see an instance where the Cowboys were 8-9 or 9-8. I didn't see anything worse than that, and they may actually get to that. I think Mike McCarthy is going to be back, is what I'm telling you. I think he's going to be back. Bryce Young, as I mentioned earlier, didn't play well in this game, but he has been playing better here of late. And I know you guys heard about their young running back, Brooks, that they took in the second round. He tore his ACL again. What a shame. You knew it, too, when you saw it. And they did not run the ball well in this game at all. But I digress. Cowboys now 6-8. Panthers now 3-11. Bengals Titans. We talked about this game briefly when we talked about Will Levis and his struggles. 3 interceptions on just 12 attempts and a fumble. He was benched in favor of Mason Rudolph, who probably is going to be your starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans this upcoming weekend. But Joe Burrow continues to play well, but he did turn it over in this game. It was a weird game. He had a fumble in this game where rookie defensive tackle T'Vondre Sweat literally just took the ball from him and started running with it. It was big man with football, and it was fun to watch. He's pretty damn athletic for his size, is T'Vondre Sweat. That I'm not telling you anything you didn't already know. So Burrow, 26 of 37, 271, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and said fumble. Wasn't the best day for Joe at the office, but it was good enough to beat a bad Titans team 37-27. Chase Brown continues to impress, 25 carries, 97 yards, and a score. Jamar Chase, 9 catches, 94 yards. T. Higgins, 5 catches, 88 yards. Both of them were really good. As I mentioned, Levis was awful. 8 of 12, 89 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a fumble. He was benched. Mason Rudolph came in 21 of 26, 209, 2 touchdowns, and also threw an interception. I was watching this game, and I think I might have told the mob this. I don't know if I've ever seen this before between the two teams. And when I told the mob this, there had to be every bit of 7 or 8 minutes left in the game. And I shit you not, there were 10 turnovers between the two teams. 10. The Titans had 6 and the Bengals had 4. I wonder what they finished with. Let me go and check out the team stats real quick. Yeah, that's what it ended up being. 10 total turnovers. I was like, this shit is crazy, bro. I'm watching this game, and the Bengals had just picked off Mason Rudolph. And then they put the graphic up, total turnovers, and it was 6 on Tennessee's side and 4 on Cincinnati's side. I'm like, wow, 10 turnovers in the NFL game. Now, that used to be commonplace back in the day. Commonplace. When teams didn't value the football back in the 1950s and 60s, like, they didn't give a shit about a turnover. They didn't have analytics that told you, hey, if you turn the ball over and you lose the turnover battle, you're 5 times more likely to lose the game. They didn't have those statistics back then. So they didn't care if their quarterback threw 8 interceptions in a game. Like, you never see 10 turnover games anymore. That's wild. This game was crazy. It was drunk. Titans or Bengals win, though, 37-27. They're now 6-8. And technically, Cincinnati's not out of the playoff race yet. If they win out, get to 9-8, they would just need one of the wild card teams to lose out, and they would finish with the same record, and Cincinnati would have a shot. Their best shot is the Chargers, because the Chargers are at 8-6 right now, and so Chargers are playing, I think they're playing an actual solid team this upcoming week, but then they got 2 division games. Um, and I think so they're playing the Broncos on Thursday Night Football. So obviously that's going to be a tough one, but it's very, winnable. Um, but they still have the Raiders. They're, even if they win that game, I don't think they would win the tiebreaker. I don't think the Bengals would win the tiebreaker. They need to finish a game better than the Chargers. So I don't think the Chargers are going to lose out because they got the Raiders on the schedule, but I digress. Titans are now 3-11, and boy, they could use a quarterback. I feel so bad for Brian Callahan. I really, truly do. Browns and Chiefs. This was a weird game. Watching this one live. This was another game that I really didn't want on my television. I'm like, you don't have anything better than Chiefs Browns? It was like, I mean, I got Giants and Ravens. I'm like, yeah, just give me Chiefs Browns. I'm good. Never mind. Mahomes, 19 of 38 for 159 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Like, these are not Patrick Mahomes like numbers. You want to talk about a struggle? Wow. That's 50% for you guys keeping score at home. That's 50% completion percentage. And it's not like the Browns are the little sisters of the poor on defense, but still, that is ridiculous. Carson Wentz had to come in Mahomes's um, um, absence. Mahomes sprained his ankle in the game, left the game, did not return. But he did practice in full today. We've seen this movie from Mahomes before, which is why once I found out it was an ankle, and I was like, okay, we've seen him do this before. He'll be fine. He'll play in the game, and he'll have a, 3rd and 9, 14-yard scramble when he's not supposed to be able to run. So um, he'll be fine. The Browns benched Jameis Winston in this game. Looks like the Lord didn't deliver him from. Maybe the Lord delivered him from throwing pick sixes, but he didn't deliver him from throwing picks. Um, Jameis, 16 to 25, 146 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions in the game. And he also fumbled, but he did not lose the fumble. Yeah, he was awful. Jameis was awful. And the bad part about this game, watching it live, was the Browns had a shot. The Chiefs, they weren't doing anything. Like, the Chiefs jumped out, if I'm not mistaken, this was 14-0, right? I think they came down, they scored on the opening possession of the game. Let me double check. Yeah, it was they scored like 2 minutes into the game, they scored a touchdown. Did the Chiefs. I mean, it was bing bang boom, explosive touchdown. And so 7-0. Then they scored another touchdown right before the half, and it was 14-0. And but in between that, they scored essentially 3 minutes into the game to the Chiefs. They didn't score again until 5 minutes left in the first half. So they had all these opportunities, did the Browns, and all they kept doing was making mistakes, getting in their own way. Couldn't get anything started. Then it was 14-0. Then it was 21-0 in the third quarter. And then Jerome Ford had a 62-yard run for a touchdown, and it sparked them. And they kept having opportunities to cut into the lead. And Jameis kept doing dumb shit. There's a pick he throws to what's my man's name from Washington, the corner. He's so good. Um, um, Trent McDuffie. He throws a pick to Trent McDuffie in the end zone, and you go, bro, come on, bro. You can't do that shit, man. What are you doing, Jameis? And this is why Jameis will always be Jameis. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Jameis is who he is. And as tantalizing as his talents can be, because when Jameis is locked in and he's delivering, man, he's as good as you'll find in the NFL. But the problem is, somewhere along the way, he's gonna throw it to the wrong color jersey. At some point, he did that 3 times. They benched him and put in DTR. I think Kevin Stefanski's seen enough. I can't wait to watch it on Hard Knocks because I think Kevin Stefanski's seen enough. He's over this shit. Texans, Dolphins. I talked about this game briefly when I talked about CJ Stroud. This was an awful watch. I told you the games on Sunday were god awful. I mean, hell, even my team's game wasn't the most pleasant to the census. A lot of these games were only good if you were a fan of the team that won the game, but these weren't great games to watch. And this 20-12 game was nasty, right? Tua 29 of 40, 196, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions for Tua, and he fumbled in this game as well. Scary moment in this game as Grant DeBose, who is a receiver for the Dolphins, went over the middle of the field to try to make a catch, got hit, and didn't get up. And I got nervous watching it because they stripped him. They took his face mask off, took his helmet off, took his jersey off, cut his pads off, cut his shirt off. And this man, I think they put an IV on him on the field, oxygen mat, all of that shit. I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? They scared the shit out of me. He later regained consciousness and full movement in all extremities, but it was scary, man. I mean, that game was delayed for every bit of 25-30 minutes. It was a scary scene, but good to know that he was ultimately okay. But on the field, the play was not okay on either side. As I just told you, the Dolphins turned it over 4 times in this game. Meanwhile, the Texans, they didn't turn it over as much, but it wasn't clean on their side either. CJ Stroud and the offense struggled. They had some good field position at times in this game. Did the Texans with all the turnovers, and they didn't do shit with it. This Texans secondary is ridiculous, though. Derek Stingley Jr. had 2 picks. Kalen Bullock had another pick. I think this dude has like 5 or 6 picks as a rookie this year. There's Kalen Bullock. I remember looking at his frame coming out of USC, like he's tall, angular, skinny as hell. Was a corner but could play safety. He was a safety in college, but he was a corner initially. They moved him to safety, and I was like, yeah, I'm not interested. Man, he's good. Man, he's good. They drafted a rookie corner out of Georgia. He's a problem. They got a lot of stuff. Kamari Lassiter. They got a lot of stuff in that secondary, man. A lot of talented stuff in that secondary. Anyway. Nico Collins, 4 catches, 17 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's a Terry McLaurin stat line from like the Giants game. Second Giants game. Texans couldn't, run the ball. 12 carries, 23 yards for Joe Mixon. It's just a struggle. The whole day offensively was a struggle for the Texans, but it just feels like a continuation of their struggles since really Stephon Diggs got hurt. They really, even when Nico Collins went down, they still were moving the ball. They had like a 40-point game against the Patriots without Nico Collins. Like they still were functional offensively. It seems like since Stephon Diggs went down, they haven't been fully functional on offense since. Nico Collins has come back and they still are struggling on the offensive side of football. And I really don't have like a true answer for you. Other than since Stephon Diggs, they ain't been right. But they are the AFC South division champs. at 9-5 after the victory. So good for them, clinching the division. And the Dolphins at 6-8 are now um, essentially eliminated from playoff contention. They're not mathematically eliminated, but at 6-8, they're cooked. They're done. Broncos, Colts, talked about this game already, but I'll go over it rather quickly. Anthony Richardson struggled mightily again. What's new? Went over his numbers earlier. He continues to struggle. Turned it over 3 times in this game, including 2 interceptions, or excuse me, turned it over twice, 2 interceptions. But the Colts as a team turned it over 5 times. 3 fumbles were lost by the Colts, but none more gut-wrenching than Jonathan Taylor and his fumble, which is inexcusable for a player of his stature and caliber. He's a veteran and a guy that you trust to not make this type of mistake. He breaks off a 30 some odd yard run. Let's see how long it was. 40-yard run. It's a beautiful one. Gets down the sidelines, gets to the end zone, and he drops the ball before he gets in the end zone. Goes out of the end zone for a touchback, and it's Broncos ball. And as I told you, at the time of that fumble, the Colts were up 13-7, I believe the score was. And it was, matter of fact, it was 10-0 when he fumbled the ball. 10-0. It would have been 17-0. They would have won this game. I really believe they would have won. That was the turning point of the game. Shit was never the same. How about Nick Bonito with his second pick 6 in 3 weeks? He is one of the, I think he's the first player in NFL history. I could be wrong about this. I think this is what I saw. First player in NFL history to have double-digit sacks and 2 pick 6s in the same season. What did I tell y'all about Nick Bonito? I told y'all 2 months ago, yo, Nick Bonito is a beast. I would love to have a Nick Bonito on my team. Yo, Nick is crazy, bro. Nick Bonito has 11.5 sacks this season, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions to the crib. He is fun to watch. They tried a trick play. They threw it to the receiver who was supposed to throw it back to Anthony Richardson, and he stepped in front of that hole and took it to the crib. He made a residence call. Yeah, he's a problem, man. And so are the Denver Broncos. That defense is really good. 31-13 is your final there. Broncos improved to 9-5. Got a big one on Thursday Night Football against the Los Angeles Chargers, who they are ahead of in the wild card standings by a game. That's going to be a big one on Thursday night. Colts dropped to 6-8. They had a chance with the soft schedule that they have remaining. They have the softest schedule of any team in the NFL remaining, and meaning that they play teams in their division. It's essentially what I'm telling you. And if they would have gotten a 7-7, beaten Denver, they would have been in the driver's seat essentially. Instead, they're 6-8, and they're going nowhere but home when this season is done. Patriots, Cardinals. I told you about this just a bit when I talked about Drake May, but Kyler Murray briefly got injured in this game, had to leave, but he was really good. 23 of 30, 224, no touchdowns, no interceptions. James Conner was the story here. They couldn't stop him. He had a big 53-yard run, 16 carries, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. Trey McBride was really good. He's really good. Trey McBride is really good. I wonder if he's their leading receiver this year. I'm interested. I'm actually interested to see where he is. This man has 89 receptions for 938 yards. He's going to eclipse a G this year. and he might have over 100 catches. He's got 3 games to get 11 catches. He's going to do that. The tight end, these tight ends, they changing the game, man. It's different out here now in these tight end streets. If you don't got yourself one of these, you need to get you one. That's why I want one. And Trey McBride is legit, man. Watching him in this game, I was like, yo, he's a problem. Big play in this game was a fumble. So Greg Dortch made a great, play, got a catch, got inside. He was, weaving in and out. He's down inside the 2-yard line trying to get the ball into the end zone, and he fumbles. And as it's trickling towards the back of the end zone to go out, and it's going to be a touchback. One of the offensive linemen for the Cardinals, Jonah Williams, the former Dolphin, former Cowboy, dives on the football before it goes out of bounds, saves it, and ultimately scores the touchdown. So that was a big play, and that kind of helped propel the Cardinals to their 30-17 victory. As I mentioned earlier, Drake May played well. They just don't have enough. But Cardinals, too little, too late. They're 7-7. They're not totally out of this thing, but they picked the wrong time of the season to kind of go ice cold. They were 6-4 at one point, leaders of the NFC West, and then they managed to lose 3 out of their last 4 before winning this game. So they lost 3 straight, and then they won this one. So might be too late for them, but we'll see what happens. Bills, Lions, big game. Bills win the game 48-42. This was a fun one. Obviously, the score indicates that, but you knew this was going to be a big game. Lions come out of this thing with a ton more injuries. They were already super banged up going in. 48 points for the Bills after scoring 42 a week ago against the Rams. Now, what's interesting is they gave up 40. What was the total score in that game? I think it was 90 points. No, 90 in this one. That one I think had like 87. So I think it was 46-41 or something nonsense. Let me just check instead of trying to guess. 44-42 last week. What's the score? So you gave up 42 this week if you're the Bills defensively, and you gave up 44 last week. I don't know if I'm more impressed by the Bills' offense with Josh Allen playing at this MVP level. You go ahead and wrap that trophy up. It's Josh Allen's now. Or if I'm more appalled by the Bills' defense the last 2 weeks. I don't know which to be. Maybe, I guess you could do both, right? Be floored by the excellence of this Bills offense. Like, Josh Allen's doing some shit that, man, not many in the league can do. Some of these throws, you got to be kidding me, bro. Like, hey, Ty, was it? I don't want to mess his name out because I'm about to call this man Ty Chandler, and that's not his name. Ty Johnson. He was so effing good in this game. Ty Johnson led the Bills in receiving. 5 catches, 114 yards. He is the first. They said some crazy stat like he was the first receiver since fill in the blank to have 3 catches of over 20 yards from the running back position. All he caught in this game was big plays, and one of them was a 4th down early in the game when the Bills rolled the dice, went for it. The first possession of the game, he caught a big one down the sideline. Like, Ty Johnson was eating in this game. James Cook. I was watching James Cook. He might be my favorite running back to watch in the league right now. Him and Jahmyr Gibbs are my 2 favorite running backs to watch in the NFL right now. They're poetry in motion. Those 2 are. Man, I want one of those type of running backs so bad for my favorite team. This is ridiculous. James Cook is so good. He's so good. They tried to pull him down by his dreads. Not only did it not work, he then stiff-armed the dude after regaining his balance, so that he could score a touchdown. I mean, the dude is just incredible, man. He unlocks another dimension of this Bills offense that they didn't used to have. Josh Allen, 23 of 34, 362, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks, 11 carries, 68 yards, 2 more touchdowns. So 4 more touchdowns after accounting for 6 touchdowns last week. He had 3 and 3 last week. He had 2 and 2 this week. 48 this week, 42 last week. Wowzers. And again, some of these throws are just insane. Then on the Lions side of this, Jared Goff, 38 of 59, 494, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jahmyr Gibbs, 8 carries, 31 yards, and a touch. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 14 catches, 193 yards. Sam Laporta, 7 catches, 111 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, 5 catches, 83 yards. They just come at you in waves, man. Just waves do the Lions. They got so many injuries on defense that it's hard for me to even be upset. I want y'all to listen to Dan Campbell. This is why the Lions are going to still be the number 1 seed in the NFC. This is why you can't count the Lions out. I want you to listen to Dan Campbell talk about the injuries and how they're going to overcome and their situation and why you shouldn't feel sorry for them and how they're going to find a way to get it done. I got to try to find it. But this dude is awesome. This is why he is going to. This is why he's my favorite coach in the NFL. I'll just say that. And it was a dope play. They threw the ball to the tackle Dan Skipper, and he scored a touchdown. It's always funny watching offensive linemen score touchdowns. Listen to Dan Campbell, man. Listen to Dan. All right.
11 in a row, and you lose, and then the sky falls. And I hate to say it, but we're not going to be able to win 11 in a row again for the rest of this season. We're just not going to be able to do it. And, what happens is you get used to eating filet, and I'm talking to all of us, and everything's good. Life's good, but you forgot what it was like when you had nothing and you ate your fucking molded bread, and it was just fine, and it gave you everything you needed. And sometimes you got to get punched in the mouth and remember what.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Dan. Finish.
We got kicked around the other day. We lost a few guys, and you know what? It's exactly what we needed. This is exactly what we needed. So we're used to eating filet, and I'm talking to all of us, and everything's good. Life's good, but you forgot what it was like when you had nothing and you ate your fucking molded bread, and it was just fine, and it gave you everything you needed. And sometimes you got to get punched in the mouth and remember what it used to be like to really appreciate where you are. And we'll do that. And so we got a bad taste in our mouth. We got kicked around the other day. We lost a few guys. And you know what? It's exactly what we needed. This is exactly what we needed. So we're going to bounce back. We're going to respond. We got guys who are about to have an unbelievable opportunity here. And we will play the game any way needed to win. We still got a good offense. We got plenty of defensive players. I can go rattle them off right now. We're going to put the best 11 on the field. We're going to freaking cut it loose. We're going to play with our special teams. And I don't give a crap if we got to win by 1 point for the rest of the year. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to be happy about it. We come out of the game with 50 yards of total offense and we win by 1, you're going to see smiles on my face. I promise you. All right. If it's the other way defensively, we give up 700 yards and we win by 1 point, you're going to see a fucking smile from my ear to ear. All right. I can promise you. So we're going to find a way and we're going to get it done.
That's why I love Dan Campbell. Right. That's why I love Dan Campbell. And that's why you'll never hear me count out Detroit, because that team takes on the personality of their head coach. And most teams do, by the way. But no team personifies their head coach and the way that they play than the Detroit Lions. And that's why when they go for it on a fourth down and it doesn't work, and and it doesn't work, you'll never hear me bitch and complain about it, because he has instilled in them what their play style is, and they know what to expect out of their head coach week in, week out. I still think they're the best team in the conference because of Dan Campbell. And like he said, they still got a dynamic offense, even without Montgomery. They still got Jahmyr Gibbs. They still got Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't know if y'all seen, Tim Patrick is playing ball. They still got Jameson Williams. They still got Sam Laporta. They still got weapons. They still can score. Might not be able to stop anybody, but good luck. I mean, hell, Buffalo did whatever the hell they wanted to do, and they still scored 42 points. So we'll see. We'll see. And I don't know if you saw, but Aiden Hutchinson talking reckless, like, hey, if they make it to the Super Bowl, I'm coming back. We'll see about that. Long ways away, but man, let me ask y'all this. Right now, are you taking anybody over Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills? Like, one game situation, you need to win. Are you taking another team over the Bills? Are you taking another quarterback over Josh Allen right now? You'd be hard pressed. I mean, I don't know what the hell to make of this Bills defense right now, but Josh Allen is on another planet. He's on another planet right now. The shit he's doing, I don't know. I do not know. I don't know how you take somebody else right now with the way he's playing the game of football. Bucks, Chargers, this one got out of hand fast. Like, this was a 17-13 Chargers lead. And then the second half happened. I wish I could tell you, but I'm gonna tell you what I thought the key moment in this game was. So early on, the Bucks couldn't get out of their own way. They were turning the ball over. Taheeb Still, boy, he's a good corner, a good young corner, rookie corner. Picked off Kirk Cousins, pick six. Picked off Baker Mayfield in this game. Gave the Chargers great field position. They forced Rachaad White to fumble on back-to-back possessions. So they picked off Baker Mayfield on one possession. The next possession, they forced Rachaad White to fumble, and they had tremendous field position. And on the first turnover, they scored points off of it. They scored on their first three possessions, did the Chargers, right? They came out, the Bucks had a beautiful opening drive. Boom, 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 touchdown. And the Chargers went right back at them. Ladd McConkey went off on that drive. They scored, tie game up. Then the Chargers, then the Bucks scored a field goal. Then the Chargers scored a field goal. Then that turnover that I talked about happened with Taheeb Still picking off Baker Mayfield, and they scored a touchdown off of that. And then they forced a fumble, and they didn't do anything with it. They had the ball in plus territory, and they didn't do anything with it. They went backwards, as a matter of fact. And after that, it felt like, okay, the game was never the same. They never really, and on that possession, that one where they got the fumble, on that third down, the Bucks went after Justin Herbert, who had started out red hot in the game. And remember, he was dealing with an ankle. Remember, on the Sunday night game against the Chiefs, he had injured his ankle. And so they blitzed after him, dove at his ankle, and he grabbed him, but he fell on his ankle, and he wasn't the same after that either. And they ain't scoring no more points in the game after that. I mean, shit went sideways quick, and then Baker Mayfield caught fire. Him and Mike Evans just went off, like slam off. And next thing you know, this thing was 17-10 Chargers. It was 17-13 at half. And you looked up and it was 30-17 after 3, and then it was 40-17 at game's end. And you was like, bro, what the just happened? I wish I could tell you. Baker Mayfield, 22 of 27, 288, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Bucky Irving, 15 carries, 117 yards, had a 54-yarder in this game. Rashad White, 15 carries, 64 yards. The Bucs rushed for 223 yards in this game. Mike Evans, they had no answers for Mike. 9 catches, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a 57-yard touchdown. Catch and run down the sideline. They had no answers for Mike Evans in this game. They really didn't have any answers for Jalen McMillan, the rookie out of Washington, either. 5 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown for him as well. So, yeah, man, the Bucs, man, they look scary right now. Like, they look like the best team in that division. They're gonna get a good test in Dallas this week. I'm anxious to see how they handle that. But this was a good test here on the road against the Chargers, and they dispatched them with relative ease. So it's not like they've been playing the little sisters of the poor here. Yeah, they played the Raiders a week ago, and they didn't look great in that game. But it's not like they've been playing, garbage teams here of late. I mean, they've been getting it. I mean, okay, all right. So they played the Raiders, and they played the Giants before that. Okay, yes. I admit it wasn't the greatest of competition. Okay, you got me. Hands up. You got me. But this wasn't that. And next week isn't that either. And I want to see what they do. So here come the Bucs. Here comes the Bucs. Chargers are now 8-6. And I'm just going to tell you, they're going to make the playoffs. Chargers are going to make the playoffs. But I don't think they're going to be staying very long. We're going to give them the old Abe Simpson treatment. They're going to go in the playoffs, take their hat off, put it on the coat rack, walk in a circle, grab their jacket, grab their hat, walk out. We'll see. Offensively, they don't have it. They don't have it offensively, I don't think. And then Eagles and Steelers. Eagles win the game 27-13, improved to 12-2 on the season, winners of 10 straight. This was a really good performance. It was a little sloppy. Eagles had a couple of turnovers early in the game. Couple of fumbles, one by Hurts, one by Cooper DeJean on special teams. Were able to overcome those. The defense really did a great job after both of those turnovers of not really relinquishing much of anything. I think they gave up a field goal after those 2 fumbles. That's all the Steelers were able to muster was a field goal. So the defense definitely stepped up in this game. You could tell they made a concerted effort. Like, you could tell that the noise surrounding the pass game was a big emphasis during the course of the week. And so I don't want to say they abandoned the run, because Saquon still had 19 carries in this game, but clearly there was more of an emphasis. We're going to throw the ball just so we could shut everybody up and kind of make our receivers feel good and put all of that behind us to bed. And so they did that. Jalen Hurts, 25 of 32, 290, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Saquon, 19 carries, 65 yards. in this game. And it was weird because there was a lot of Kenneth Gainwell early and often in this game. It felt like a lot more Kenneth Gainwell than we're accustomed to seeing, which led people to wonder, was Saquon Barkley okay? The Eagles said he was fine. He did play in the game, and he did play after people questioned whether he was healthy. He wasn't super effective in this game, but this is by the way, this is the model. If you're playing the Eagles, this is what you want them to do right here. And if they beat you this way, you'll live with it. What you don't want is Saquon going off on you, right? Because then you don't have a shot. This is what you want. And the Steelers had them right where they wanted them. You know, they didn't play a clean game. Obviously, the Steelers did not. And we know they're offensively challenged in certain ways, especially when their best receiver is out. So this is why I told you Pittsburgh didn't have a chance in this game. I didn't think they were going to beat them with George Pickens anyway, but they definitely didn't have a shot without Pickens. And even with all that said, TJ Watt forced a fumble and the defense was hanging in there. And this thing is 20-13. And the Steelers actually have the momentum. They had just scored on the possession before, and they were able to hold the Eagles to a field goal. And they were right in this game. And they're driving down the field to try and tie the game up. They just hit a flea flicker, a big play to Calvin Austin. And Najee Harris fumbles the football on a pitch. Doesn't even catch it. Perfect pitch. Had nothing to do with the pitch. Took his eyes off the ball. Never saw the pitch into his hands. And then couldn't recover it. And the Eagles recover the fumble. They proceed to then go right down the field, score a touchdown. Pretty much put the game out of reach. But then I thought Mike Tomlin, did the Mike Tomlin thing. Like, he's a conservative coach in nature. And you're down 14. I think it was like 4th and probably like 6, maybe 7. You needed to go for it. Like, I get it. The offense hasn't been great the entire day. So you don't really want to go for it. But they got it to 4th and 7. It was 3rd and 22. They had a penalty that pushed them back. And so it was 4th and 7 from the Eagles' 46-yard line. You gotta go for it there. You're down 2 scores with 10 minutes to go in the game. I mean, 10 minutes is a long time, but you're not getting but so many possessions left. But I get it. Now that I thought it was less time than that, because the Eagles went on a 21-play, 88-yard, 10-minute, 29-second drive to end the game. And we've seen them do that shit before, by the way. We've seen them take the football and put the game away. They did that shit to Green Bay basically earlier this season. Matter of fact, it's the first game of the season. We've seen them do that before. It was a really good performance by the Eagles. Again, I thought they were going to beat Pittsburgh. So this wasn't a surprise to me. I was more surprised by the Ravens outcome than I was this one. But this is the blueprint, though. If you're playing the Eagles, you want them to do what they did in this game. You want Hurts. There were a lot of checkdowns in this game. Slants. Like, this was an Alex Smith type performance from Jalen Hurts. It was funny because Eagles fans, were all like, is he still a passenger? Yeah. This was an Alex Smith type performance here. A lot of slants, a lot of checkdowns that turned into run after catch opportunities. How many times did the running back, what's his damn name? Kenneth Gainwell. How many times he catch a pass on 3rd down and long and make somebody miss? First possession of the game, matter of fact, 3rd and 5. They got him. Dude, he spins on a dude and makes him miss. The corner makes him miss and gets a first down. That should have been a punt. Eagles are the worst first quarter team in the NFL, and you let him off the hook. He checked it down on 3rd and 5. and they couldn't make a tackle. 3rd and 9 late in the game when you got a chance to keep them out the end zone, and you let Kenneth Gainwell break 2 tackles and get the first down. Like, that's the type of shit that they were on in this game. And Hurts did a really good job of distributing the football, getting it out of his hands, getting it into the playmakers' hands, doing the things that we've seen him do throughout his career. But at no point did I watch him and go, wow, man, he's dealing tonight. Nah, I didn't say that. It's a lot of, him getting the ball out of his hands into the hands of playmakers. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But that doesn't necessitate Eagles fans. Is he still a passenger? Yeah. That looked like an Alex Smith performance. The minute he tried to push it down the field vertically, should have been picked off by Joey Porter Jr. He couldn't catch. But I digress. The Eagles are good, man. They're good. I mean, that defense, they had the Steelers spinning in the game. And offensively, they're talented. They really are. And even with Saquon, really being a minimal impact player in this game, they still were able to really control this game. And that's scary. That's scary. But I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The Steelers aren't a great team. Like, to me, the Ravens win was way more impressive. On the road, Ravens are a much better team than Pittsburgh to me, especially without George Pickens. But like, the Steelers defensively aren't great. I saw a lot of missed tackles, poor angles. Like, they're not a great defense. So I think they're going to lose that division, by the way. I've been saying that, though. I've been saying that. I think they're going to lose that division. Baltimore is the better team. And when it's all said and done, I think the Steelers are a wild card team. And generally, those two teams do not sweep each other. They split. And I've always said that the beauty of that matchup is they don't have any issues going into somebody's house and winning. Well, I think both teams are going to protect their house this year. The Steelers have already won at home, and I think the Ravens are going to do the same on Saturday. But TJ Watt banged up, even though he's probably going to try to give it a go. He's not 100%. George Pickens probably still going to be out. I just don't see any way they go into Baltimore. Now, if they find a way to go into Baltimore and win and sweep them, wow. I will be shocked. That would require a 0-0 from me, more likely than not. Anyway, I digress. So let's transition to our final segment of the show and garbage time. Before we do that, got a few super chats that I want to knock down real quick. So let's do that. My guy, Frank McLaughlin. Frankie, baby. What's going on? Aloha. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Frank, writes, Lou, have you ever watched Landman? No, I've never even heard of it. I've never heard. I couldn't even tell you what this show is about. I'm going to look it up right now, though. And I can probably tell you just based off of whatever pops up if it's something that I would be even interested in looking at. No, this one wouldn't do anything for me. I can tell you that right now. But I had never heard of it until you just brought it up. But that I can tell you right now, that ain't my type of show. But shout out to my guy, man. It's good to hear from you, Frank. Frankie, baby. Aloha once again. And you've been spot on with the recommendations. So keep them coming. Keep them coming. Hey, you're batting 1,000 right now. Like that one, I'm not counting that one. You just asked me, had I ever heard the show? You didn't say, hey, you should watch. You just asked me, had I ever heard of the show? Now, I'm pretty sure you enjoy that show. I can tell you just looking at that, I wouldn't enjoy it. But You batting 1,000. So if you got any other recommendations, keep them coming, Frank. Nectar, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, why are some of these fan base want OBJ? Too much money. I don't really think it's a money issue with Odell Beckham Jr. I just think he's washed. I think most teams feel that way. And at one point, I do think he was looking at money. Like when he still had tremendous value, he felt like I can negotiate a good contract. I think at this point, I think he would just want to go somewhere. If somebody would have him, he would like to go somewhere where he can have an impact. Because he probably still thinks he can play at a high level. And I've always told you, guys of his stature are usually the last ones to find out that they can't play at the level that they used to play at. I'm not telling you that he can't contribute on a good team, but I don't know if he can contribute at the level that he thinks he can. But I've already told you I'm willing to kick those tires. I'd bring him in for a workout though. Like I need to see it before I sign. I wouldn't just like sign him blindly and trust that he can still do it. I'd bring him in for a workout. And if he doesn't want to work out, then we wouldn't sign him. But I'd work him out, see if he can still do it. And if I like what I saw, I'd sign him up. But again, there are other, things to consider when you bring in an Odell Beckham Jr. into your locker room. And I can tell you for the kind of culture that we are building, I'm not necessarily sure he'd be the best guy to bring in either. But like I said, he hasn't been a problem. Everywhere he's been a model citizen for the most part. We haven't heard any issues. He asked for his release out of Miami because he wasn't getting any playing time. KJ Osborne asked for his release. So, like, that's not a big deal. Dudes do it all the time. You're not going to play me. You're not going to give me an opportunity. Let me go. Let me go somewhere where I can play. So, Captain Obvious, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Captain Obvious writes, who is going to kick for us this week? Don't know. So this is what we do know. If Zane Gonzalez is healthy enough to kick, he's the kicker. What we don't know right now is he healthy enough? We're going to have to wait to find out. But as of right now, assume that Greg Joseph is our kicker this week. But Zane Gonzalez almost played on Sunday, so he's not that far away from being healthy enough to kick. My guess is that Zane Gonzalez is our place kicker on Sunday versus the Philadelphia Eagles. He was our place kicker the last time we played the Eagles, and he did a good job in that game. We didn't have any issues out of him, but we didn't score very many points that night either. So my guess is it's Zane Gonzalez, but no guarantees there. Only time will tell what it ultimately ends up being. Anyway, I digress. So let's close the show by talking about Kirk Cousins getting benched. I'm still at a loss as to how this happened. Before we do that, let me throw this promo at you real quick. Going on, it's your man Louie T here with a public service announcement. We're sunning and funning in June. That's right. We're heading to the DR, Punta Cana, all-inclusive resort, June 26th through the 30th. And I want you to be a part of the fun. All of the information you need is right here on this screen in front of you. Any extra added information that you need can be found in a video that's attached to the description of this video and any video that you see this promo in. Also, if you need further information or you just want clarification on something, feel free to email me, LouieTeeNetwork@gmail.com. June 26th through the 30th, we're heading to the DR and we're going to have a blast. And I'm going to make sure this is a time you won't forget. And a lot of the things we do on this trip, we will not repeat again on future trips. So you don't want to miss this trip. You need to be 21 years of age or older to attend, and you also need to have a passport. That is important as well. Also, take advantage of this holiday special we have on the registration fee. Knock $50 off of the registration fee. And then if you're a member of the mob, knock an additional percentage off of that good through the end of this year. So you don't want to miss out. Take advantage of it while that offer still lasts. So any questions, hit me up. We're going to the DR. We're sunning and funning, and I want you to be a part of the fun. Come join your man Louie T as we turn up in the DR. So we are going to the DR in June 26th through the 30th. Want you to be there. Spots are filling up. So head over to the website that's in the description to register. Take advantage of the holiday registration deal we got going on right now. Especially if you're a member of the mob, you can get a ton of savings there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully you can be in attendance. I think I got something else coming up down the pipeline that's going to be like sort of a pseudo experience. So a lot of stuff going on the channel, a lot of stuff going on in general with the Louie T Network. And I want y'all to be a part of it. So let's get it. Let's do it. Right. Kirk Cousins benched by the Atlanta Falcons. If you watched the game last night, you know why. Like last night was a continuation of a stretch of ball that has just been hideous to watch. Going into last night's game, Kirk Cousins in his last 4 games, 0 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 2 of them pick sixes to the crib. He had been awful. The Falcons play has reflected that of Kirk Cousins. They have not won, I think, in 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, prior to last night's 15-9 victory over the Raiders, in which he was awful yet again, threw yet another pick. He did throw a touchdown. Yay! Kirk threw a touchdown, but he wasn't good. And that game was a lot closer than it needed to be. And I think that one scared Raheem Morris shitless to the point where he said, okay, we got to do something. And look, I don't know what Michael Penix Jr. is going to provide them down the stretch here. And it's not like the Falcons are out of the playoff mix. They are squarely in the midst of a playoff push. And they're making this move with 3 games left. And again, it'd be one thing if Michael Penix got some run during the course of the year and, you know, they've seen what he can do in live action. They have no idea what this guy's going to do. Now, you could make the argument that going into the 2024 season, of all the rookies that were drafted, he was the most NFL ready to go. He didn't play the most college football, but he had been around college football just as long, if not longer, than any of the other quarterbacks. And because of that experience and his age and the amount of reps that he had in college, you just felt like he would be ready to jump into an NFL scheme and system and be able to, at a bare minimum, be a high-functioning NFL quarterback, specifically a rookie one. And with the way that the rookies have played this year, you felt like he probably could have fit right in with the likes of Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix and even to a lesser degree, Drake May, right? But with 3 games left, needing to win all 3 to make the playoffs, and he hasn't had a career start under his belt. And he's probably the only game he's played in this season is the game against Denver when they were getting their brains bashed in. He really doesn't have a lot of attempts. You're just throwing him out there and you're saying, let's see what he can do. No time like the present. I'm not mad at it. I'm actually excited to see what he looks like. I mean, that Giants game had zero watch value, no nutritional value whatsoever prior to this move being made. All of a sudden now, that'll be on my television this weekend. I'll be watching. I want to see what he looks like. And I want to see what he brings to the line, to the Falcons offense. I'm a big fan of left-handed quarterbacks. Tua was keeping that group alive by himself. Now he's got a little company. We'll see how he fares. They still got a dynamic run game, and if he can just add to that, he's going to give them a shot. But I want to talk about it from the Kirk Cousins standpoint. So Adam Schefter put this out, and it's been a lot coming out from all of the insiders around the league on this situation. It's wild, right? So Adam Schefter writes, he tweeted this out, the math. If the Falcons were to cut Kirk Cousins prior to the start of the 2025 league year, they would have $65 million in dead money. So dead cap that they can't access. If they were to trade him, the $27.5 million base salary guaranteed would transfer over to the acquiring team. So the Falcons would be just responsible for the $37.5 million of proration. So they would be on the hook for just a little over half of the money that he's due if he was traded. They would not be on the hook for the base salary guarantee. Still a lot of damn money, but yikes. Okay, yikes. Nobody has made out quite like Kirk Cousins in his NFL career. For a guy that hasn't won anything, nobody's made out like Kirk Cousins. 4-year, $180 million contract he signed this offseason to become a member of the Atlanta Falcons. $90 million of it fully guaranteed. So half of that contract fully guaranteed. Wow. So the question that I have now is this. If you're the Atlanta Falcons, clearly Kirk was never the future of your franchise. You just thought you would get more mileage out of him than this. But I personally still think that Kirk Cousins is not done in this league. And next year, when he's more than a year removed from surgery and he's able to be mobile again and he's willing to leave the pocket, I think he'll be fine, right? He'll be a massive upgrade over, we literally just talked about the Titans, for instance. They're not in a position to get a quarterback this year in the draft. Now, obviously, the draft order is not set in stone. The Giants could upset this Falcons team this week with a rookie quarterback in the mix, and it could change everything. And next thing you know, you look up and the Titans are drafting second overall. You never know because their strength of schedule, them and Jacksonville's strength of schedule stinks because they play in the worst division in football. So, you could mess around, win a third game if you're the Giants or the Raiders, both of which strength of schedule is tremendous because they play in two excellent divisions. You can't afford to win a third game and jump into that 3-win cesspool. But Tennessee, more likely than not, is probably going to win a game because they played Jacksonville again. Even though they just lost to Jacksonville, I still think they're going to beat Jacksonville once. I don't see them getting swept by the Jaguars, but who knows? Bottom line is they could use a quarterback. You don't think they could use Kirk Cousins? I just talked about Sam Darnold. Somebody's going to sign Sam Darnold and give him good money. this offseason. Because guess what? Not everybody's getting Shedeur Sanders. Not everybody's going to get Cam Ward. I don't know about the rest of the quarterbacks in that draft class, but I can tell you none of them are the caliber of those two quarterbacks. And so after those two, it's anybody's guess as to what you would be getting at the quarterback position. So I think a team might be more inclined to go after Sam Darnold this offseason. And I think a team might be more inclined to trade for Kirk Cousins. What would be some good landing destination for him? A lot of teams need quarterbacks. And you got to have some cap space if you're going to eat the remaining contract, essentially, except for the $37.5 million that the Falcons would have to eat. You'd have to eat pretty much whatever's left after that. Who's in a position to do that? There are some teams. Let's think about all the teams that need quarterbacks. Because, again, not everybody's going to get a quarterback. So let's go division by division. Giants need a quarterback in the NFC East. NFC South, Panthers are going to roll with Bryce. Saints could use a quarterback. Maybe they like Spencer Rattler. We'll see, but the Saints probably could use a quarterback. Excuse me. NFC West. I think everybody in that division. Seattle could use a quarterback. I mean, guess we'll find out about Sam Howell, huh? But Seattle probably could use a quarterback when it's all said and done, right? I think that's it in that division. And then the NFC North. Every team in that division has a quarterback already. AFC East, Jets could use a quarterback. That's the extent of that division. AFC North, Browns could use a quarterback. But they're not trading for Kirk Cousins. They got enough money on the books tied to the quarterback position as is. So that's not happening. But the Browns could use a quarterback. That's it in that division. The AFC South, Titans could use a quarterback. Colts could use a quarterback. I know they're not going to do it. They need a quarterback too. Jags probably need a quarterback, but they're not going to do it. They just gave him money. So that's it there. And then AFC West. I think every team, and the Raiders, obviously. So that's 8 teams. So a quarter of the league could use a quarterback. But realistically, I named a couple of teams in there that probably aren't going to do anything at quarterback because of their situation. So it's really more like 6. But it's 8 teams that could use a quarterback. Only 2 of them are going to get one via the draft. That's worth a damn. So what are the other 4 teams going to do? Sam Darnold is an option for one of those teams. And Kirk Cousins may be an option for another team. That's going to be interesting. And you know what else is really fascinating is what the Atlanta Falcons did will be a case study 5 years from now. We'll see how this works and turns out for them. But they took 2 bites at the apple at once, and they were ridiculed for it. Now, I've said that them drafting Michael Penix Jr. was an overcorrection, right? Because when their GM first took over, he had a decision to make. And that decision was, do I continue to roll with Matt Ryan, although I realize his road is coming to an end? Do I get him a weapon in Kyle Pitts, or do I draft the young quarterback, Justin Fields, keep him at home, right? Or not keep him at home, but he was a homegrown product. He was a Georgia kid. Do I bring him home? And they opted. And again, if you don't like the quarterback, then you shouldn't draft him. You don't just draft a quarterback just for the sake of drafting a quarterback. He opted to go with Kyle Pitts, and I didn't think it was the right decision. In that moment, I said you should have drafted the quarterback. Matt Ryan does not have a lot of football left in him, and he played well that rookie year of Kyle Pitts. That last year with Pitts, he played well, and it looked like he had a little bit left, but that was short-lived. They should have gone with Justin Fields, and it backfired. And then they traded Matt Ryan to the Colts, and that didn't work. And they had no quarterback, and they had Desmond Ridder, and that was awful. And then I think he said to himself, if I ever get that opportunity, and this is my philosophical belief, as an organization, if I've got a chance to draft a quarterback, I'm going to do it because I can't guarantee that I'm going to be up here again. I don't want to be drafting this high again. So if I'm in a position to draft a quarterback, I'm going to do it because it makes sense. Because I don't want to be here again. And even though they signed Kirk Cousins, he said, we don't plan on being this high in the draft again. They were drafting 8th, I believe. We don't plan on drafting this high again. So you know what? And we just signed Kirk Cousins. We know Kirk Cousins isn't going to allow us to draft that high again. And even though Kirk's playing like shit, they're 7-7. They're not going to be drafting in the top 10. So they did the right thing. And depending on how this turns out, you may see more teams in the future double down on the quarterback position. I mean, think about Kirk Cousins' journey in this league. He started out as a double down. Robert Griffin III was drafted 2nd overall. He was drafted in the 4th round that year. He was a double down himself, and it worked out for him. Same thing just happened to him. He's just on the wrong side of the double down this time. But that's going to be an interesting dynamic because nobody knew that the Falcons were going to be drafting a quarterback. They blindsided everybody. That's the ultimate curveball. Because had the Falcons gave off any indication that they were interested in drafting Michael Penix Jr., somebody would have jumped in front of them to take him. Somebody would have jumped in front of them to take him. Teams like the Raiders and the Seahawks were sitting tight because they expected Michael Penix to fall into their lap. And who wouldn't have thought that? We weren't even sure if Bo Nix was going to go. I knew Bo Nix was going to go to Denver. I had them trading back, however, with Philadelphia. Allow Philadelphia to get Quinyon Mitchell, which they ended up staying right where they were and getting him anyway. And they were calling teams trying to get up to get him. And I thought Denver was going to trade back with them because they weren't going to have to because no one was going to take Bo Nix. Wrong answer. Wrong answer. Not only did they have to stay there, they had to stay there because the Falcons threw the ultimate curveball and took Michael Penix Jr. And that was the ultimate head fake. By them signing Kirk Cousins, it threw everybody off the scent. I wonder if you see other teams go about it that way. Give off no indication of what they want to do. Sign a quarterback in free agency. Now, this ain't like signing a Teddy Bridgewater or a Gardner Minshew or a Marcus Mariota or one of these bridge quarterbacks to a 2-year deal for solid money. This was 4 years, $180 million, $90 million of it fully guaranteed. Wow. Kirk Cousins benched after 14 games. 14 games into a 4-year, $180 million contract. He is not done. I'm going to tell you that right now. He is not done. And I don't know if you guys watch quarterback or not, but I can tell you this about Kirk. Going on, it's your man. Oops. My bad. Kirk is one of these dudes that is very mentally fragile. Remember, I don't know if you watched quarterback or not, but if you watched it, he met with the team psychologist every week. And I'm not saying that that's uncommon, but that was a big thing for him. Like, he needed that. And he talked about the mental aspect of it and the psychology of what he was doing. And he's big into that. He's a guy that definitely confidence matters for him. Not that it doesn't for every player. You need confidence, but his wavers, his can be shaken. And then he starts getting inside of his own head, like more so than, most. But you don't think Will Levis got inside of his own head on Sunday when he threw 3 picks in 12 passes and had a fumble? You don't think he got in his own head and started doing dumb shit? Yeah, that happened. But I really think a lot of his struggles have to do with his lack of mobility right now. And that's affecting him. The inability to get in and out of the pocket, his unwillingness to move is rooted in, I think, the lack of trust that he has in his knee right now, or his Achilles, whichever one it was. And once he fully regains the confidence that he can move and he can do the things that he used to do, I think you're going to see Kirk Cousins return to form. Like, Kirk Cousins throws interceptions. Kirk Cousins isn't perfect, but this ain't who he's been the last 3 years. He set career highs in Minnesota. Every year, progressively got better and better and better. And I think his last year when he got injured, he was about to set another, new standard for himself. So we're not going to act like Kirk Cousins was leading the league in interceptions every year, because that's not true. I don't think he's done. You put him in the right situation, he can be really good again. But it's got to be a system that fits his skill set, and they got to have talent. Kirk ain't about to go somewhere where he's got to elevate a team because they don't have enough talent. Don't fool yourself into thinking Kirk Cousins is elevating anybody's team from a talent perspective. You better have some talented football players. But if you put the right group around him, he can do some damage. I think. Still some football left in him. He can help somebody. But I'll be lying. Like, literally, somebody asked me about Kirk Cousins getting benched yesterday, and I was like, nah, that ain't happening, bro. They just gave this man a 4-year contract. I think he's got the rest of this year and next year before they do something crazy. They're not in no hurry. And literally, that was the kiss of death. Get him. Literally, the man got benched the next day after I said that shit. You can't make this stuff up. Unbelievable. I cannot believe this. Man, I can't wait to watch Michael Penix, though. Can't wait to see what he looks like this week. What's crazy about Kirk, too, is he never saw Michael Penix Jr. getting drafted coming. They didn't discuss that with him at all. He got blindsided by it. I wonder how he's going to handle this benching. Because remember, if you watch quarterback, Kirk had some shit with him. And when you have the type of power that he has, you can do whatever the hell you want to do. Like, remember, they wanted Kirk to come in on Tuesdays, and Kirk was like, nah, Tuesday is my family day. I'm not coming in. Sorry. Not coming in the building on Tuesday. Y'all can do whatever y'all got to do without me. I'll be in there on Wednesday, though. That was his day with Julie. They would walk around the block with the dog and all of that stuff. That was his time to reconnect with his wife. And she was like, yo, I need my Tuesdays. I go crazy without my Tuesdays. I wonder how he's going to take this benching. I would assume he's going to be professional about it. But he ain't happy. And he ain't playing well, and he know he ain't playing well. But I don't think he expected to get benched. This is a ballsy move by Raheem Morris. Look, I would love to tell you that if this doesn't work, Raheem Morris is to blame or he's in trouble but the alternative was doing nothing. And that probably wasn't going to work with the way Kirk Cousins was playing. So you probably weren't going to make playoffs anyway. I'm essentially saying, and people hate when you say this. What do you have to lose? A chance to go to the playoffs is what you have to lose by putting in a rookie quarterback who doesn't have a start and doesn't even have 15 career snaps under his belt. So, yeah, you have a whole entire playoff berth on the line. That's what you have to lose. But on the flip side of that, if you keep playing Kirk Cousins, were you going to win enough games to qualify for postseason play anyway? This is just a hell of a spot to put a rookie in for his first start. And I know Michael Penix Jr. is not your typical wide-eyed 21, 22-year-old rookie. I'm aware. But still, the only silver lining is, hey, it's the Giants. His first start is against the Giants, man. He should be fine. Okay? If there was ever a team, you might have been better off. You know what? I was about to say you might have been better off starting them against the Raiders, but no, this Giants team is just fine. They're probably even worse than the Raiders. They're worse than the Raiders. So the Raiders are still competing at a high level. They're just not good. The Giants aren't good, and they're not competing at a high level. So you get the best of both worlds. So I guess this is a good game for him to get his feet wet, kind of get a little bit of reps under his belt. What a decision. Kirk left him no choice. I'm pretty sure Raheem felt like he left me no choice. I didn't want to do this, but he been fighting the good fight. But that game against the Raiders, if you watched it, it was bad. It was bad. That was like watching your favorite boxer at the end of his career. That was like watching Mike Tyson. I would assume, I didn't watch, but I would assume that was like watching Mike Tyson against Jake Paul. Or watching Mike Tyson at the end of his career. Or watching Roy Jones when you were like, yo, Roy, you should have retired 7 years ago. What are you doing, bro? Stop it. This is not the Roy Jones I want to remember. It's like that. That's how it felt watching Kirk the other night. He was like, yo, this is bad, man. Somebody save this man from himself. This is bad. I'm telling you, Kirk Cousins can. I see y'all in the comment section. And y'all saying he can't play in the league. I'm telling you, he's still feeling the ill effects of the injury he had last year. You know, everybody, he's older and everybody doesn't recover. I'm telling you, I watched Aaron Rodgers run for 45 yards on Sunday. He ain't been able to do that all year long. You think it's a coincidence that we get to the end of the season and he's further away from when he had the surgery and he's more comfortable using his legs. He's more mobile now than he had been earlier in the season. You think it's a coincidence? I don't. Okay. I don't. I think with Kirk, the further away he gets from the surgery and the recovery process and the time, and he gains more confidence in his mobility, he'll be able to maneuver in the pocket again. Like, he doesn't leave the pocket for nothing. He's got the highest percentage of his passes coming from the pocket in the NFL. And I don't think the next guy is even remotely close. He refuses. The pocket could be crumbling around. He will not leave. Remember Dave Chappelle on one of his specials, one of my favorite ones, live from the Palladium? When he first came back, it was his first special in LA in over a decade. And he said, y'all might have read some reports, about Dave Chappelle booed off stage in Detroit. He said, I was booed. I did not leave. Right? Kirk Cousins may be in a pocket that is crumbling, but he will not leave. Okay? He won't leave, no matter what. Center could be getting pushed into his lap. Left tackle could be getting run by. He's not leaving. And he's still going to try to throw the ball to make it worse. That's how a lot of these interceptions is Kirk Cousins in a crumbling pocket, refusing to leave, and still trying to throw the football. This shit's hard to watch. But we'll see. I know y'all think he's done. I don't think he's done. If he's done, I will come back and offer up a 00. Y'all ain't gonna do it. If he ain't done, y'all ain't gonna do it. But I'll do it. I'm not scared to let y'all know where I stand. He ain't done yet. He done in Atlanta though. His ass is done in Atlanta though. That's for damn sure. Zo Life, no life. Been a member for 20 months. Who writes, I want to see Kirk to the Dolphins. Tua is cooked. I mean, they the same player. One's left-handed, one's right-handed. They're the same player. One's got concussion issues, the other's got mobility issues. They're the same player, though. You wouldn't really be gaining anything by moving on from Tua. At least he can move right now. That ain't the landing destination for me. I would rather see him go somewhere like Tennessee. Well, where he'll be appreciated for what he can provide them with. That's a good spot for him. If they could add a receiver in the draft to go along with, I don't know how long they signed Tyler Boyd for, but to go along with Boyd and Calvin Ridley and a Okonkwo at tight end, and you can hand it off to Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard, I think he'd be fine in Tennessee. But they might prefer to go with Sam Darnold in Tennessee. So we'll see. War V, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Lou, it might get to Sunday. Y'all best win is a 7-7 Cardinals team. It's love though. Go Birds. Yeah, that's probably our best win of the season. I wouldn't claim that as our best win. Our best win was on the road at Cincinnati. Again, nobody gave us a chance in that game. We were supposed to be Joe Burrow's coming out party. They were getting T. Higgins back. First time he had played all year. They were supposed to light us up. We were supposed to just be there. And we went on the road, and that was the night that Jaden Daniels came of age right in front of our face. That was the night that we saw him become a superstar. He became one of them ones that night. So I tell you, it's that game. It might not be impressive with the Bengals being 6-8, but at that time, for what it was, yeah, that was a big one. The beauty of what we've done this season, and we haven't had a ton of great wins. I'm not apologetic for that. We're in for where we are in our process. We're ahead of schedule, man. So I'm unapologetic for the schedule that we've played and the teams that we've beat. That's a part of becoming a good team, is beating the teams you're supposed to beat. And we're getting better and better and better at that. But what I will tell you is, if you look at the season that we put together, when we beat teams where they were at that time, I feel good about it. Like, we beat the Giants in week 2 when the Giants didn't know they were trash yet, right? We beat the Bengals in week 3 when the Bengals were expecting to get their shit together on us. We didn't let it happen. We beat the Arizona Cardinals at a time when the Cardinals were just figuring it out. If you recall, the Cardinals had already beaten the Rams like 41-10 at home, and they had lost the week before at home to the Lions 20-13. And they got jobbed on a pick 6 that happened before the 2-minute warning, and they said, nah, that happened at the 2-minute warning. It didn't count. So they were playing good football is what I'm telling you. So were the Bears. They were 4-2 when we beat them. We ended their season, is what we did effectively. So I tell you that there's some games, that we won this season where the team is awful now, but when we beat them, that's not the state of where they were. But I tell you, Cincinnati at 6-8 is our best win. Cardinals at 7-7 will probably be our second best win. But I don't feel bad about that. I mean, I think you were trying to make me feel bad about our wins. I don't feel really good. I can tell you this. We've been in every ball game this season. That's a far cry from where we were a year ago. We've been in every ball game this year in the fourth quarter with a chance to win in most of those games. I think maybe 1 or 2 of them. We never had the ball with a chance to take the lead or tie in 2 of those games. Tampa Bay and Baltimore. We never had the ball with a shot to tie or take the lead. But every other game this season, we've had the lead in the fourth quarter or had the ball with a chance to tie or take the lead. Matter of fact, outside of those 2 games, I would tell you that we've had the lead in the fourth quarter of every game this season, with the exception of Tampa and Baltimore. Somebody would have to fact check me on that, but I feel pretty confident in saying we had the lead in every single game in the fourth quarter. I wonder if we had the lead against Dallas in the fourth quarter. I'm pretty sure we were up 10-9 heading into. No, we were down 10-9. So I don't think we had the lead ever against Dallas in the fourth quarter, but obviously we had a chance to tie the game up with an extra point. We should have gone for 2, but I digress. It's all love, War V, man. It's all love. Should be a fun game on Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. Y'all got a streak that's real nice right now, real robust. It needs breaking. Somebody got to do it. Might as well be us. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Swaggy P, thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, damn, Lou, I thought you were done after the Commanders Kings. Come on now. Come on, Swaggy. You know better than that. I was supposed to be done, but I got Christmas shopping to do tomorrow during the day. And so it was either get the podcast done tonight. So the original plan was to get the podcast done during the day yesterday because I'm on the East Coast. So it's already turned to December the 18th on the East Coast. So the plan was to get it done during the day. I ran out of time. So then I had the genius idea of getting it done after the Commanders Kings because I said to myself, if you plan on doing your Christmas shopping, finishing up your Christmas shop because I've started it already. But if you plan on finishing it, you don't have time to do a podcast tomorrow. You don't. Be real with yourself. So I had to get it done tonight. Here we are. And I'm glad I did. But that was a good Commanders King show. I enjoyed that one thoroughly. Hopefully you guys did as well. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me. Your man, Louie T. I've taught y'all head off long enough. Let y'all go about your business. I really appreciate y'all kicking it with the kid on this late night Louie edition of the Louie T Network podcast. Shout out to everybody that was kicking it with the kid tonight. Really, truly do appreciate each and every single one of you. And I look forward to chopping it up with you guys on Thursday, which will be our next edition of the Louie T Network podcast. We will talk about Thursday night football. That's a big one. AFC West, family business. So that is going to be a massive game in the grand scheme of the AFC playoff picture. Also, college football playoffs kick off on Friday. My Notre Dame Fighting Irish will be the first playoff game to take place on Friday, December 20th. So we're going to take a look at that, preview that as well on the next episode of the podcast. Take a look at all of those games and the action that's coming up over the weekend as the first ever 12-team playoff kicks off and gets underway. So we'll discuss that, among other things. Episode 3 of Hard Knocks. I'm going to watch that probably after I get off of this podcast with you guys. So I'll have that in the chamber as well. And if anything else crops up, I mean, hell, we got this one falling in our lap here with the Kirk Cousins situation. If anything else falls in our lap, we'll talk about that as well. But anyway, I digress. Y'all, enjoy the rest of your evening. I look forward to chopping it up with you tomorrow. If you are a Commanders fan, we will be live tomorrow night for Commanders Nightly News. So much to get to. We'll hear from the quarterback. We'll hear from the head coach. We'll get our first injury report. And we'll go from there. So until then, you guys, take care. Have a good one. God bless. And again, if you haven't already done so, check out MusicHead University. If you like Christmas music, I uploaded my Christmas playlist to the channel, and I put a timestamp in the comment section. I pinned it to the top so that you have access to it, so you can skip to whatever song. 5 hours and 42 minutes of Christmas music, if you're into that type of thing. Anyway, go be you and enjoy being you. I'll see you next time. God bless and good night.